we only have 68 days left to win this election, and the stakes could not be higher. The stakes could not be higher, and the question is very simple. We can talk about who can do what. We can talk about the issues. I'm on the road every single day. I've traveled to different parts of Virginia, and I will tell you, people might disagree about what's important, what issues are important. They might disagree about what approach is workable. But nobody wants to go back. Everybody wants to move on. They want forward progress. This election, in this time, you think about it, we got good news on Friday. Unemployment dipped from 7.1% to 6.9% in Virginia, and that's wonderful news. But what that means, behind that number, instead of 300,000 people looking for work, 286,000 people in Virginia are looking for work. And that doesn't include the people who have stopped looking. That doesn't include the people whose benefits have just run out. That doesn't include the people who are working they're underemployed. They might have a master's degree and they're working at Walmart because that's what they can find to do. But people are hurting all over this country, all over the Commonwealth. This year, the Center for Responsible Lending says that 49,000 families will lose their homes to foreclosure in Virginia, an all-time high. That 286,000 people represents a lot of those folks. It represents people whose children don't know if they're going to be able to afford to go to college. They don't know if their parents are going to have the money. It represents a whole lot more people that are concerned about just hanging on to their jobs, hanging on to the basics. This election, this time, the stakes could not be higher. It's a matter of whether we build on the progress we've made under Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, two pragmatic, problem-solving focused, reach across the aisle governors. I mean, as much as I'm a Democrat, you all know I'm a Democrat, but politics is not all about Democrats and Republicans. It's not all about left or right. It's not all about conservative or liberal. It's about moving the ball forward. It's about creating opportunity all over Virginia. That's what it's about. So it's a matter of whether we build on the progress we've made under Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, or whether we move back. The guy that I'm running against a couple of months ago said that George W. Bush was his model for government. And George W. Bush provided, economic revival. George W. Bush created economic revival in this country. Well, you ask the 286,000 people that are looking for work, or the 49,000 families that will lose their homes this year if we are an economic revival. I would suggest to you that that's not the place to look to for a model for governance. Mark Warner and Tim Kaine have been good governors. We are going to have to reach across the aisle. We're going to have to get things done in Virginia. And we only have 68 days left to make the case. It's going to be tough. Just yesterday, the Republicans rolled out the first negative ad against me. And they got some of the footage. They might be able to use some tonight. Who knows? But the cameras were always rolling. But what they attacked me for, and they're trying to attach me to we're running against some headwinds at the national level. So they tried to attach me to what people's concerns about too much spending at the federal level. They attacked me for putting in budget amendments, as every legislator does. Well, the context they don't provide for those budget amendments is that the year I put those budget amendments in, I was putting on money. I was stating as a priority what a lot of people like to talk about, paying our teachers the national average. And I'm not going to apologize for standing up for strong schools and standing up for good teachers. And that included in that pile of budget amendments was money for 2 internet crimes against children units, one in Bedford County, one in Fairfax County. And I'm not going to apologize to Bob McDonnell or anybody else for standing up for children. I'm not going to do that. Now, the Attorney General's office opined a few years ago that state troopers who worked overtime were not entitled to overtime pay, if you can believe that. So I put in a budget amendment to make sure we paid state troopers overtime pay. about you, but I think if the people of Virginia know about what I was trying to do, the people of Virginia are going to stand with me. The people of Virginia are going to say that Bob McDonnell standing against those priorities shows how out of touch and out of step he is with Virginia. We have a lot of work to do in 68 days. You know, I know that I can be an effective governor because I've been an effective legislator. I know that I can put together the consensus necessary to restore confidence in the economy, to create a transportation system that's a model for the rest of the nation, a multimodal system that's going to put people back to work in Virginia, that's going to create opportunity in every part of the state. I know that I can build the consensus necessary to make college education more affordable and more accessible. I know I can provide the impetus, the incentives that are going to create the next economy built around alternative and renewable energy. But I also know this: I can't win without you, because this is not about me. It's about you. It's about this state we love, this Commonwealth we love, and it's about the future. Now, it's going to take all of us. You know, when I was a little boy, I grew up just 35 miles west of here. My Uncle Frank Wood had a boys' camp and a girls' camp down on the Cowpatch River. And on the first day of camp, he would say, "Now boys, you're going to get out of this camp exactly what you put into it." And I've got to admit that when I was 7 years old, I wasn't sure what that old man was talking about. But the older I've got, the more I realized that that's the lesson of life. You are either all in or you're not in at all. I'm all in this campaign, and I need you to be I need you to be all in with me. And I promise you this: once we're done, I'm going to be all in as governor every day, working to create opportunity all over Virginia. Now, one quick story, and some of you have heard this, but I want you to think about this. I ran this election, ran this campaign 4 years ago. I lost about 360 votes out of 2 million. Proved that every vote counts. Okay? It hurts to lose. It hurts whether you lose by 1 vote or 1 million votes. It hurts when you put heart and soul into something to lose. But for a guy from Bath County, grew up in one of the smallest places in the state, who got outspent 2 to 1, you know, there were a lot of people that could say, you know, that wasn't such a bad result. Think about this, though, and if you laugh, that's okay. I didn't laugh when I read this, but I want you to think about it. There was an analysis in the Norfolk paper, the Virginia Pilot, in December of 2005, after the recount. Column was written by a woman named Margaret Eads. And when she heard I was upset about it, she called me up and said, "You know, I just thought it was funny." And I said, "Well, it's not funny. But this is what it says. Maybe you agree with her, maybe you'll laugh." She said that Bob McDonnell almost lost that election to a nobody from nowhere. Think about that. If a state senator who's on the ballot running for statewide office, even a state senator who grew up with nothing in Bath County, even a state senator from way out in the country, is a nobody from nowhere, there's a whole lot of nobodies, and there's a whole lot of nowheres. Well, my vision of Virginia includes everybody. My vision of Virginia, we're all the same. There are no nobodies, there are no nowheres. And friends, that's what's at stake in this election. I need you to help me drive the vote out on the 3rd of November. 68 days is not much time, but it's enough time. And I will tell you that we cannot accept anything short of victory. We've got too much to do. We've got too much responsibility. The people of Virginia are counting on us. I've counted on you before, and I know I can count on you this time. We're going to get this done. Thanks for all your help. Thanks for coming out. Help this guy, Ray Roberts.